about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can dream and not make dreams your master. If you can think and not make thoughts your aim. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn, pitch and toss and lose, start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. This poem is a link between fathers and sons from generation to generation. And I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, Keith Rupert Murdoch.
Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you very much, friends. It's wonderful to be with you all again. You might have guessed I've had a busy few weeks. Traveling to California, overseas, board meetings, important people meetings. But nothing compares to tonight. This is indeed a tremendous honor. Before these speeches, I'm advised one should try to tell a joke. Well, I'm not a jokester, but I think I remember one, so here we go. There were these two rich guys who walked into the Wall Street Journal. Well, I think I've forgotten the rest. I believe it had a good ending. To be serious, I've long admired the Manhattan Institute since its founding over 25 years ago. My companies benefit from your work. Your scholars and writers appear frequently in the New York Post, the Weekly Standard, and on Fox News. The originality and insight with which you illuminate problems, help to clear the path for solutions for many people. I actually moved to New York in 1974. My friends in Australia thought I was crazy. They had a point. I can't really blame them, because New York seemed to be in irreversible decline. I remember well the dark times we were going through when this institute was founded. The infrastructure was crumbling. Graffiti was not only everywhere, but the elite decided to call it public art. Crime was notoriously on the rise. My family and I took an apartment in the East 60s near Central Park. Not exactly a dodgy part of town, even then. But our neighbors warned us not to venture into that park, at least not alone, and certainly not after dark. Women clutched their purses tightly when walking down the street. There was a vogue among women, especially for self-defense classes. There were Kung Fu Now storefronts, seemingly on every block. I'm not exactly sure what it did to the crime rate, but the marriage rate sure went down. we had the fiscal crisis, the blackout, Son of Sam, the abandonment, the subsequent arson and sways of the city, all of which followed my arrival in short order. There are people in this town now who believe these things happen because I came to New York. But I decided not to cut and run. Besides, I had a certain faith that New York was still the greatest place on earth. I've always agreed with our host, the Manhattan Institute, and Marriott Koch on two important points. The first is that New York City is too important to ever give up on. The second is that New York had within its borders the spirit, the means, and the people to renew itself. A quick aside about Ed Koch. He's an institution in this city, as he's demonstrated tonight. Daniel Patrick Moynihan, another Catholic, gave this assessment. He said, Ed Koch gave New York its morale back, and I believe that. He's an ever-optimistic, hard-working, dedicated public servant, and deserves every bit of credit he has received for that. The Manhattan Institute went to work to ensure New York's success, and leaders emerged, many of you here tonight, to make sure that it happened. New York's nature is well behind us tonight. We should all be glad, and some in this room are very proud of the role they play. But I think storm clouds threaten again. Not to be too pessimistic tonight, but the crisis has already begun. New York State tax burden is the second highest in the nation, 20% above the national average, making a move out of the state attractive. What about the cost of doing business in New York State? It's the second highest in the nation. Our Medicare spending is wildly out of line with the national average. You have to ask, are New Yorkers sicker than people in other states? When the current budget passes, our school spending per pupil will rise from the second highest in the nation to the first. Are our children appreciably better educated than children in other states? State and local spending per capita ranks second highest in the nation. And what peerless state services can New Yorkers point to which justify that? One effect of all this taxing and spending is clear. People are voting with their feet. More people moved out of New York State since 2000 than any other state, except Louisiana. Many who remain simply can't leave, so they stay in spite of everything. New York's current political thinking takes for granted that they will never leave. New York's experiment with high taxes and higher spending has been failing for 50 years. I appreciate all that the Manhattan Institute does to point this out, particularly through the work of E.J. McMahon and the Empire Center. I would urge you all to raise your voices even more loudly. You saved the city from crime and disorder, not by being quiet. It's high time to save the state from its own foolishness. If we don't, there will be a day when no one will be left to receive, much less deserve, the Alexander Hamilton Award. So I'm greatly honored to be here tonight. I'm greatly honored to share the stage with my friend Ed Koch. Congratulate all of you on your fine work. Thank you very much.